Hi everyone, welcome to the Leeds Alumni Quiz Challenge. I'm Phil Steele. I graduated from Leeds in 1997.
Hi everyone, my name is Amy Wells. I'm a very recent member of the Leeds Alumni community. I graduated from my zoology degree last year.
And the first thing I'm going to say while all this stuff is going on in the background is obviously it's really good to be doing this. Obviously we are running this from several remote positions across Leeds, and via various laptops and bits of Wi-Fi and internet and stuff like that. So if this goes a bit awry, as it is at the moment, just bear with us. We'll make sure that we steer you through the whole quiz and we steer you through all the questions in more or less the right order. Anyway, while all this is going on, I should also say that it's been brilliant just reading what's been coming up on the chat in terms of where you are in the world, what you've been drinking, how much it cost when you were in Leeds to buy a pint, all of that kind of stuff. And to be honest, I'd be quite happy just sitting here seeing what the price of beer was in Leeds at all these various times. Anyway, let's crack on and let's hope we're all good to go. It's a beautiful evening here in Leeds. We know for some of you it's in the morning if you're in New Zealand. We know for some of you it's the afternoon if you're in Texas. We know that loads of countries are represented. So it's fantastic to see so many people here. Wherever you are, I hope you have a suitable drink for the location you're in and the time of day it is. We can't see you in person, so obviously we can't buy you a drink, but what we can do is bring you plenty of questions, most with the Leeds connection. We asked some of our Leeds alumni, including members of the victorious and pretty modest Leeds Alumni University Challenge team to ask you some questions as we go. So here's how it's going to work. There are 7 rounds in total. We're going to give you the answers at the end of each round, so you will need to keep a running total of where you are at. There are a maximum of 70 points up for grabs at the end, and we are wanting you at the end for you to share with us on the chat how you did. We want to see whether this was really challenging or not. If you are not a Leeds graduate, you could probably answer some of the questions, but you'll need to be a Leeds graduate to get all of them. So that's how it's going to work. You can use the chat, as most of you are already doing, to ask any questions that you have, generally or specifically about the quiz. Just make sure that you are talking to all panelists and attendees if you want to share stuff with your fellow alumni and the staff organising it. If you just want to message someone in the team organising it, you just need to select all panelists. Apart from that, if you're all good to go, if you've got a drink, here we go, and good luck. So before we go on to the first sort of round of questions proper, you'll have seen a picture round pop up, and we're going to come back to this at several points through the quiz. What we want you to do, obviously, is just to name all those buildings that are on campus. Some are easier than others. Some you recognise depending when you graduated. If you've been reading the Leeds magazine avidly, it doesn't matter when you graduated, you should know what they all are. But good luck with that, and we'll come back to that shortly. Right, what we're going to do now is move straight on to round 2, and here's our quizmaster for round 2, our first Leeds alum. It's Amy Wells.
Hi everyone, my name is Amy Wells. I'm a very recent member of the Leeds Alumni community. I graduated from my zoology degree last year, and now I am the elected welfare officer for Leeds University Union. And I will be bringing you round 2 of this quiz. It is a straightforward general knowledge round, so hopefully not too tricky, although I'm having a scan of the questions and I don't even know half of them, so we shall see. So question 1 is, in which English county would you find the towns of Oswestry, Telford and Ludlow? So which English county would you find the towns of Oswestry, Telford and Ludlow? give you a few seconds in between each one. So, question 2, bit of Monopoly now. So, which of the 3 stations on a standard Monopoly board are London Tube stations? And you get a separate point for each you get right. So that's which 3 of the stations on a standard Monopoly board are London Tube stations? Question 3 is which actor stars in the new BBC crime series Van der Valk? And for an extra point, who played the role in the 1970s original? So that is which actor stars in the new BBC crime series Van der Valk? And that extra point for who was the original actor. Question 4 turns to sport. So which 6 countries have won the Cricket One Day World Cup? And again, you get a point for each. I do not have a single clue. So that's which 6 countries have won the Cricket One Day World Cup? Point for each. Question 5. What is the name of the city which is the 2nd largest by population in Japan? So that's the name of the city which is the 2nd largest by population in Japan. So, time for the answers. So for question 1, that was the English county in which you'll find Oswestry, Ludlow and Telford is Shropshire. Nice, I did not know that. Question 2, the underground stations on the Monopoly board are Liverpool Street, King's Cross and Marylebone. And there's a point for each. So if you put Fenchurch Street, then that's wrong, unfortunately. It's on a Monopoly board, but it's not on the underground. So apologies if you put that one. So it's Liverpool Street, King's Cross and Marylebone. So question 3, the role of Van der Valk is played by Mark Warren. And you get an extra point if you got that the original series starred Barry Foster. You get a point for each of those if you got them right. So that's Mark Warren and Barry Foster. Next up, the cricket one. So the nations which have won the Cricket World Cup are the West Indies, India, Australia, Pakistan, Sri Lanka and England. There is a point available for each of those. So that's the West Indies, India, Australia, Pakistan, Sri Lanka and England. And the last question, the 2nd most popular city in Japan is Yokohama. You learn something new every day. So now it's time to add up your points. Thank you for taking part. I really hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. And I just wanted to say a big thank you on behalf of Leeds students for the support you're showing to the alumni team who are trying really hard to raise money for students who are going through a really difficult time right now. So a huge thank you and just a hello, a socially distant lockdown hello to everybody. Have a really nice rest of your evening.
Thanks, Amy. So I think, if I've got this right, your maximum score for that round was 13. Here's another look at the picture round, if you haven't got them all yet. And on to the next round. So Leeds has, over the years, put in some creditable and at times not so creditable performances on University Challenge. But it wasn't until Christmas last year that a Leeds alumni team finally and deservedly won the final. And the first of our quizmasters from that winning team tonight with the questions for round 3 is writer, author, senior editor at Nature and all-round expert on most things. If you saw University Challenge, it's Henry G.
Hello and welcome everybody to the third round. My name is Henry G. I was on the victorious Leeds University Challenge Christmas team with Jonathan Clements, Tim Allen and the Reverend Richard Coles, smashing all the opposition, and these questions I hope will tickle your little grey cells. Now there are 6 questions in this section and there is a clue. In this section, it says here, each answer starts with the last letter of the previous answer. So, if the answer to the first question was fish, the answer to the second question would begin with the letter H. Now, question 1. Name the mathematician and codebreaker widely viewed as the founding father of computer science. So I'll say that again. Question 1. Name the mathematician and codebreaker widely viewed as the founding father of computer science. And here comes question 2. The centenary 2013 Chelsea Flower Show temporarily lifted a ban on what in its gardens? I'll repeat that question. The centenary 2013 Chelsea Flower Show temporarily lifted a ban on what in its gardens? There you are. Now, here comes question 3, being the third question of the round. The number of this question is the third one. What position does Harry Potter play in the Quidditch team? What position does Harry Potter play in the Quidditch team? No, Jonathan Clements, the answer is not missionary. I will repeat that. Question 3. What position does Harry Potter play in the Quidditch team? I believe it's an entertainment, my lad. Here comes question 4, being the fourth question. The holiday resort of Faliraki is on which European island? I'll spell that, T-H-A-T, and also F-A-L-I-R-A-K-I. The holiday resort of Faliraki is on which European island? Now, here comes question 5, being the fifth question. A haiku is a traditional Japanese form of poetry. How many syllables are there in a haiku? I'll spray that again. Question 5. A haiku is a traditional Japanese form of poetry. How many syllables are there in a haiku? And here comes question 6, the final one in the round, so give it all, brothers and sisters. Here we are. What was the real first name of the famous footballer Nobby Stiles? I'll say that again. What was the real first name of the famous footballer Nobby Stiles? A footballer of an earlier generation. He may even have been in the 1966 World Cup final. I can't remember. I was only 4 at the time. Now, I could hum to you and sing a little song before I give you the answers, because it says here, leave a little time for people to finish writing and then read the answers, leaving a little pause between each. I have several cats, they have little paws. I have dogs that have bigger paws, but I'm not quite sure if that is what it means. But I will come up with the answers now. The mathematician and codebreaker was Alan Turing. The mathematician and codebreaker was Alan Turing. Question 2. The 2013 Chelsea Flower Show temporarily lifted a ban on gnomes. Question 3. Harry Potter was the seeker in the Quidditch team. Harry Potter was the seeker in the Quidditch team. Question 4. Faliraki is in the island of Rhodes, as in Cecil and Colossus. Question 5. There are 17 syllables in a haiku. Not 15, not 16, yes, 17, count 'em, 17 syllables in a haiku. And number 6, Nobby Stiles' real first name is Norbert. No, I didn't know that. And I hope you've got plenty of those answers. Just add up your points. There were 6 available in this round. That's 1 per answer. Thank you very much for taking part. I hope you enjoyed the evening, and I hope you are enjoying lockdown. There are good things to say about lockdown. I've found more beautiful woodland walks in lockdown than I've discovered in the previous 13 years of living in the charming seaside town of Cromer. And I've been making bread, and I've saved money and lost weight. It's goodbye from me and goodbye from them.
And it's goodbye from Henry, but we've got more rounds to come. I'm loving looking at all the comments in the quiz, seeing how in the quiz chat, seeing how people are doing. You are up against 225 of you following this on Zoom, and another 40 following it on YouTube. So if this were a pub quiz, it would be a fairly packed pub in terms of teams. Good luck with the rest of it. So you've got another quick look at the picture round there. And we're now going to move on to round 4. And here's author and scriptwriter Jonathan Clements.
Hello, people of the Leeds Alumni Association. I am TV's Jonathan Clements, a graduate in Japanese from the University of Leeds, a subject which proved to be of no use whatsoever on Christmas University Challenge, where I had been better off swatting up on the films of Nicole Kidman and the novels of Toni Morrison. And wouldn't we all? Anyway, this is round 4, a general knowledge round, and I'll tell you for nothing, if this had been on University Challenge, I would have scored almost nothing. So good luck with that. There are plenty of points up for grabs in this round. Question 1 has 1 answer, question 2 has 2, question 6 has 6 answers, so there's a total of 21 points going for grabs. And with no further ado, here is question number 1 for 1 point. London's Wembley Arena, next to Wembley Stadium, was built in 1934 as a facility for which sport? London's Wembley Arena, next to Wembley Stadium, was built in 1934 as a facility for which sport? Sport being a subject about which I, in fact, know nothing. Similarly, for 2 points, question 2, name the 2 long-serving Leeds United and England players who died in April of this year. I'm guessing that's a football question, but really I have no idea. Name the 2 long-serving Leeds United and England players who died in April of this year. Question 3 for 3 points. Name the 3 Leeds graduates who host the popular podcast My Dad Wrote a Porno. That's a popular podcast, really? Okay, well, 3 Leeds graduates made it. What are their names for 3 points? Question 4, thankfully, geography. As well as the Vatican City and San Marino, Italy has land borders with 4 other states. But can you name them all? 4 other states. Not Vatican City, not San Marino, but what does Italy also have land borders with? Question 5, and this is a question for those people who are undergoing the misery of postgraduate study and stuffing their face with chocolate. What are the 5 biggest, I'll say that again, what are the 5 biggest selling chocolate bars in Britain? What are the 5 biggest selling chocolate bars in Britain? I'll give you a little bit of extra time there because you've got to think of 5 of them. Doesn't matter if you're having a guess, I would certainly give it a go. 5 biggest selling chocolate bars in Britain. And finally, for 6 points up for grabs here on question number 6. Name any 6 pubs which form part of the famous University of Leeds pub crawl, the Otley Run. Not something about which I knew anything when I was trying to learn 2,000 Japanese characters in the 4 years allotted to me. But for those of you who were doing degrees like English and engineering, apparently there was this thing where you started off somewhere in Otley and you went to a different pub all the way along the road into town and got progressively wasted. This was the Otley Run. 6 pubs were involved. Name the 6... Well, actually, sorry, not 6 pubs were involved. Actually, there's loads of pubs, but we only need 6 of them. So if you can name any 6 pubs on the Otley Run, go ahead, see if you can put them down. You get a point each for a maximum of 6.
Your screen hasn't frozen, by the way. We're just giving you a few extra minutes because there are a few long questions to that round. Anyway, that's your 6 questions. I shall now proceed to the answers. So, number 1. London's Wembley Arena was built as a facility for which sport? It was built originally for swimming in the 1934 British Empire Games, and it was known originally as the Empire Pool. So if you said swimming, that's a point for you. If you said diving, we're going to allow that. So you can have diving as well, but it's only 1 point up for grabs there. Number 2, the Leeds United and England footballers who died in April were Norman Hunter and Trevor Cherry. I think we will accept Hunter and Cherry, but we won't accept Norman and Trevor. Number 3, the podcast hosts of the apparently very famous My Dad Wrote a Porno were Jamie Morton, James Cooper and Alice Levine, putting their Leeds degrees to good use, I see. Number 4, 4 points here. Italy has land borders with 4 countries, apart from San Marino and the Vatican City. Those 4 countries are France, Switzerland, Austria and Slovenia. 1 point each for those. France, Switzerland, Austria and Slovenia. Number 5. The 5 best-selling chocolate bars in the UK are Kit Kat, Mars, Twix, Dairy Milk and Crunchy. I'll say that again. Kit Kat, Mars, Twix, Dairy Milk and Crunchy. And finally, the Otley Run. According to a wonderful book called The Great Leeds Pub Crawl, the following pub names are acceptable on the Otley Run. You get a point for each to a maximum of 6. So if you are some swot who got all of them, you're obviously too drunk to be participating in this quiz. Anyway, so any 6 of these: Woodies,
I will also accept The Woodman, its original name. The Three Horseshoes, New Inn, Headingley Taps, The Ark, The Box, The Skyrack, you should have all got that one, The Original Oak, The Hyde Park, The Library, The Pack Horse, The Eldon, The Fenton, The Strawberry Fields, we will also accept The Straubs, apparently, and The Dry Dock. I'll say those again because there's shed loads of them. You get a point each for a maximum of 6 for Woodies, or The Woodman, The Three Horseshoes, New Inn, Headingley Taps, The Ark, The Box, The Skyrack, The Original Oak, The Hyde Park, The Library, The Pack Horse, The Eldon, The Fenton, The Strawberry Fields, or The Straubs, and The Dry Dock. Hopefully some of you have scored higher than me on that round, since I think I probably got about 4 points. There were 21 available. Well done to you. If you got all 21, you probably should have been on University Challenge instead of us. Anyway, thank you for taking part. Please remember to recharge your coffee cups with more gin and proceed on to the next round.
Thank you, Jonathan. Now, looking at the chat, we've had a few comments about that we're rattling through these at a fairly high speed. So what we did there, and what we're going to do, is to pause the presentations a bit, just to give you a bit more time to thinking time, or perhaps a bit of nostalgia, reminiscence time in between all the questions as well. So if that happens, don't worry, the thing hasn't frozen, hasn't locked up, we hope. It just means that we're going to give you a few extra minutes to answer those questions. There's lots of, I'm not going to engage with any more of the chat because it's all there. There's some debate going on about whether the Old Bar is part of the Otley Run. I'm going to leave that to you to argue with the people in my team who are making the decisions. I'm staying out of it. But if you did manage the Old Bar during an Otley Run, fair play to you, because that's a hell of a lot to fit in. Right. Moving on, round 5 is our music round, and there is no, when we were looking to get someone to ask music questions, we decided there was no better person to ask than music expert, Leeds graduate and BBC radio DJ, Liz Kershaw.
Hiya. Welcome to section 5, the music round. I'm Liz Kershaw, and I was a student at Leeds University from 1975 to 1978. And I went there, and then my brother did, following me there, because of the live music at Leeds in the refectory in the Riley Smith Hall. And you couldn't get rid of either of us. I think we finally left, both of us, the city of Leeds in 1987, but I still have fond memories, and I'm so proud to be a Leeds University alumni. And it gave me my job, which is on the radio for the last 30 odd years. So I should know the answers, but do you? There are 6 questions. The last one has 4 parts, so you can score a maximum of 9 points. So eyes down, here is question 1. Which singer-songwriter and Leeds University graduate, I'm not giving away their sex, told us to put our records on and let our hair down? Which singer-songwriter and Leeds graduate urged us to put our records on and let our hair down? Question 2. Joe Newman, who was a fine arts graduate in 2010, sings that triangles are my favourite shape, with backing from fellow 2010 graduates Tom Green and Gus Unker Hamilton. What band formed at Leeds University are they in? Joe Newman, graduated in Fine Arts in 2010, sings that triangles are my favourite shape, with backing from fellow 2010 graduates Tom Green and Gus Unker Hamilton. What band formed at Leeds are they in? Question 3. Leeds University co-hosts a prestigious international music competition every 3 years. Which instrument do competitors play? Leeds University co-hosts a prestigious international music competition every 3 years. Which instrument do contestants play? Question 4. Which prog rock band first played in the refectory in 1972 and are due to play, fingers crossed, at the Leeds Arena this December? Which prog rock band, British, played in the refectory at Leeds University in 1972 and are due back in the city, fingers crossed, to play at the Leeds Arena this coming December? Question 5. In the late 1960s, Leeds students would gather round Pablo Fanque's grave in what is now known as St George's Field. Which band mentioned Pablo Fanque in a song, and which song? In the late 1960s, Leeds University students would gather around the grave of Pablo Fanque in what's now known as St George's Field. Which song is he mentioned in, and by which band? Question 6, and remember the 4 points up for grabs in this one, 4 parts. In which band did each of these Leeds University graduates make their name? Mark Knopfler, David Gedge, Dan Smith and Simon Ricks. In which band did each of these graduates make their name? Mark Knopfler, David Gedge, Dan Smith, Simon Ricks. Answers. Here we go. Question 1, that singer-songwriter was Corinne Bailey Rae. Question 2, the band with Joe Newman and his friends is Alt J. Question 3, Leeds University hosts the International Piano Competition every 3 years. Question 4, the prog rock band coming back after 48 years is Genesis. Question 5, the song mentioning Pablo Fanque, who's buried in Leeds, was Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite from the Beatles' 1967 album, oh, just dropped my glasses, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And question 6, 4 people, 4 bands. Mark Knopfler was in Dire Straits, David Gedge is in The Wedding Present, Dan Smith is in Bastille, and Simon Ricks, of course, is a member of Kaiser Chiefs. Well, I hope you got 9 points. Well done if you did. Have a great summer and rock and roll.
You know, it was a pretty tough round. It's been interesting looking at some of your comments. Some of you really crashed and burned on that round, but I think it was a pretty tough one. Thanks, Liz, to that. Now, you met Amy Wells, LUU Welfare Officer, earlier in the quiz. Now, here's a short thank you message from her to alumni on behalf of Leeds students.
I just wanted to say a big thank you on behalf of the union to anybody who is supporting students by making a donation. Lots of our students have lost casual employment in 0-hour, cash in hand, gig economy jobs, and are not eligible for government forms of support like universal credit, and the loss of the maintenance grant is felt especially now that they're paying for rent on houses that they're not using, when the yearly average rent has risen way above the yearly average loan, and half of students are reporting that the people who financially support them have also been affected adversely by the virus. So it's causing huge anxiety, and it hits our vulnerable students the most. So thank you so much for any help that you're able to give.
Thanks, Amy. Still looking at comments on the previous round, it looks like most of you are better at naming pubs on the Otley Run than you are answering music questions. In terms of what Amy just said, we've posted a link on the chat to the Student Support Fund if you'd like to know more. So on to round 6, and here's the captain of the University Challenge Leeds alumni team, cleric, broadcaster and former communard, of course, Reverend Richard Coles.
Section 6. This is all about recent history and each answer is a single year. I was born in 1962. Thanks for reminding me, Leeds. And so each question is going to come from a decade of my life, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the noughties, or the teens, making me feel very old indeed. Don't forget the answer is a single year, but to make it a little bit trickier, they're not chronological. Okay. Question 1. In which year did Princess Anne marry Captain Mark Phillips? In which year did Princess Anne marry Captain Mark Phillips? Question 2. Daniel Craig made his debut as James Bond in the film Casino Royale, but in which year? In which year did Daniel Craig first appear as Bond in Casino Royale? Question 3. In which year did the UK last win the Eurovision Song Contest? 2 extra points if you can give the song and the band. In which year did the UK last win the Eurovision Song Contest? Question 4. In which year did the Berlin Wall come down? In which year did the Berlin Wall come down? Question 5. 100-1 outsider Foynhaven won the Grand National after galloping past the terrible kind of crash of horse flesh. In the Grand National, which year? In which year did Foynhaven win the Grand National 100-1? And finally, question 6. In which year was Barack Obama re-elected to the White House? And an extra point if you can name the candidate he beat. So in which year was Obama elected for his second term? And what was the name of the Republican opponent he defeated? Okay, hope you've got all that, because the answers are coming up. The answer to question 1. Princess Anne married Captain Mark Phillips in 1973. Question 2. Daniel Craig debuted as James Bond in Casino Royale in 2006. Question 3. The UK won the Eurovision Song Contest last in 1997. The song was Love Shine a Light, the band Katrina and the Waves. Question 4. The Berlin Wall came down in 1989. Question 5. The famous Grand National win by Foynehaven was 1967. Foynehaven won the Grand National in 1967. And question 6. Obama was re-elected for a second term in 2012. You get an extra point if you knew the name of his opponent, which was Mitt Romney. Well, I hope you got lots of those. You could have got 9 points. Hope you did. Do add them up and add them to your score. Thank you very much for joining us online. Thank you very much from Leeds Alumni community. And I do hope you are enduring lockdown as best you can, and look forward to meeting again in whatever the new normal looks like. Thanks and goodbye.
Thanks, Richard. This is your final look at the picture round before we go on to the final round. Okay, and for our final round, it is the final of the 4 of our University Challenge team. It's a photographer and filmmaker locking down at a secret location somewhere in the UK. It's Timothy Allen.
Hello. This is Timothy Allen here, coming to you live and direct from the Cayman Islands. Remember, folks, we're all in this together. Right. Public service announcement over. I'm going to be reading out the final round as well, and I'm told here that this final round will take you back to your student days with 6 questions about the University of Leeds. So I hope you're all ready for this. Hopefully there's a few of you out there that have a recollection of your time at Leeds University. I know that many of my contemporaries do not. Anyway, let's get on with this. Question 1. What is the name of the main road which passes in front of the Parkinson building? Oh, you've walked up and down it a million times on your way to Ricky's on a Monday night. Or at least I did 40 years ago, whenever it was. Can't have been 40 years ago. What is the name of the main road which passes in front of the Parkinson building? Okay. On to question 2. Outside the refectory, there is a blue plaque commemorating the recording of the Who album live at Leeds in the venue. But in what year was that concert recorded? I didn't know that. Outside the refectory, there is a blue plaque commemorating the recording of the Who album live at Leeds in the venue. But in what year was that concert recorded? Okay, moving on. Question 3. Professor Simone Buitendijk takes over in September as the university's new Vice-Chancellor. How many other people have previously held this role? Question 3. Professor Simone Buitendijk takes over in September as the university's new Chancellor. How many other people have previously held this role? Okay, question 4. The long red brick buildings, which are home to the schools of design and media and communication, and the concert hall beside the School of Music, are both named after one of the university's biggest benefactors. Who is that? The long red brick buildings, which are home to the schools of design and media and communication, and the concert hall behind the School of Music, are both named after one of the university's biggest benefactors. Who is that? Question 5 of section 5. Which famous campus building is named after a former vice-chancellor who was also a baronet and served as an intelligence officer at Bletchley Park? They were a Conservative MP and also a Minister for Education. Who was that person? Once more, which famous campus building is named after a former vice-chancellor who was also a baronet? I hope that's not baronet. I don't get to say that word very often. This person was a baronet and served as an intelligence officer at Bletchley Park. They were also a Conservative MP and a Minister for Education. What a fun life. Who were they? Number 6, final question of the final round. Which vast hall of residence with rooms for around 350 students opened on campus in 1964? I'm guessing it's a pretty ugly building though. Which vast hall of residence with rooms for around 350 students opened on campus in 1964? The golden age of terrible looking buildings. So, the name of the main road which passes in front of the Parkinson building. That road, ladies and gentlemen, is Woodhouse Lane. And if you didn't know that, you probably didn't really go to Leeds University, because it's their address as well, if I remember rightly. Also the address of my first ever bank account, the HSBC opposite there. Because I still say it to this date. That's sad, isn't it? Okay, question 2. About The Who recording a live album at the uni. The Who Live at Leeds album was recorded in 1970. So you can be forgiven for not getting that answer correct. I mean, I wasn't even born till 1971. So if you got that, well done. And I hope you're enjoying your retirement. Question 3. How many previous vice-chancellors were there at Leeds? Just pick a number out of thin air. 12 is the answer. There have been 12 previous vice-chancellors at Leeds. Question 4. The concert hall and the string of red brick buildings close to the Great Hall were named after... Somebody probably got this. The Worshipful Company of Cloth Workers. Or, if you just wrote cloth workers, I'll let you have it, because that's a hard question. Cloth workers it is. Question 5. The former VC who held, the former Vice-Chancellor, I should say, not a VC, a Vice-Chancellor, who held all those other roles that I mentioned in the question, was none other than Edward Boyle, who obviously gave his name to the Edward Boyle Library, also known as the Eddie B. I don't remember it being called the Eddie B. In fact, I only have a vague recollection of the Edward Boyle Library about a week before my finals. I think it had some turnstiles on it, didn't it? And lots of banks of large brick-shaped computers. Probably got nothing in it now at all. Just walk in and there's an Amazon Kindle on the side. Anyway, Edward Boyle. Final question. Final answer. Question 6. The giant Hall of Residence, which opened on campus in 1964 and definitely isn't an ugly building, is Henry Price Flats. Well done, everyone. Thank you for taking part. Hope you've enjoyed the evening. Add up your scores. And whoever got the highest score, I'll write you a check from the Cayman Islands for $1 million. Okay. Well done, whoever that is. Just send me an email. Goodbye, and see you another time. Goodbye. Bye.
Thank you, Timothy. Okay, at this point, I do want to say a massive thank you to all the Leeds alumni who did round of this quiz for being such good sports and filming themselves on whatever random equipment they had in lockdown to make this quiz work in the way it does. We're really grateful, and we salute them all. I think you might have seen it on the chat, but we are putting this quiz on YouTube as well. As we've been streaming it live on YouTube in parallel, but we'll be putting it on there as well. If you think you need a second go at it, or you've got other alumni that you know who you think might enjoy doing it. We're going to keep you updated on the impact of the Student Support Fund that Amy talked about, and about how your support as alumni is helping students that are hit the hardest by the coronavirus outbreak. Final thing for me to say before we go on to the picture round answers. When you leave the quiz tonight, you'll be directed to a short survey. Please do spend a couple of minutes finishing it. It is really, really short. We are obviously starting to do more and more digital events, and we are developing them each time. So your feedback is really important. It helps us make our events better and better as we go on. Okay, so before we toss up the final scores, let's run through all the pictures in the picture round. Number 1 is the Great Hall. Obviously, if you graduated on campus, you will have graduated there, or you may have done your exams there. Great Hall, completed in 1894. Number 2 is the Roger Stevens building, which opened its doors in 1970. Number 3 is the Laidlaw Library, the most recent one here, that opened in 2015. Number 4, the oldest library, the Brotherton Library, which was completed in 1936. Number 5 is the Michael Sadler Building, or you may have known it as the Arts Building before it got named after previous Vice-Chancellor. That was finished in 1939. And finally, number 6 was the Marjorie and Arnold Ziff Building, or the Ziff Building for short, more recent one, which opened in campus in 2008. So that concludes the quiz. We'll give you some time to add up your scores, and please post your results on the chat because we want to see how you did compared to everyone else. Thank you so much for joining us this evening or morning or afternoon or what time it is with you there. It's been really good to put this on. Do keep an eye on our email newsletters, on our website and our social media. We will be, as I said, we'll be running more and more digital events. So that's where you'll find about what is coming up. I hope you've enjoyed the quiz. And we look forward to seeing you at future events. We'll keep the chat open for the next few minutes so we will give you some time to add up scores if you're still going and to kind of continue the conversation if you want before we close down. But that's it from me. Take care. Bye-bye.